My name is Melody Gaddy, and I am a learning coach for Lawrence Public Schools, and part of my job is to be building-based at Woodlawn Elementary, and the other part is to support special ed teachers K-12 throughout the district. As part of my job in working here at Woodlawn, I work closely with the first grade teachers in our building, and I asked them if I could take this opportunity to do an interactive read aloud with their classrooms. And so the book that I have chosen today is called Sylvia Jean, Scout Supreme, and the author is Lisa Campbell Ernst. I have chosen this book because it's relatively new. The copyright is in 2000. Or is past the year of 2000. And as I was analyzing the book, I noticed it had excellent vocabulary, the use of rare words, the use of really interesting Tier 2 words for children in first grade. And it also had some really clear story elements. So as I'm looking through the characters and the plot of being able to see a clear setting, some problems that the main character have and how they were going to resolve those problems going through the end of the story. Those were things that I thought were options for me as far as being able to have teaching points within this book. So what I would like to do is go ahead and show you the video. The purpose for this first read was basically for me to have the children be engaged, for the children to be having their thinking brains on and understanding what was going on in the story, for them to also realize that there are some very interesting words, and for them to be able to focus on the words as we go through, and for them to get the gist of the book, to understand what actually happened as we went through the story. I'm going to show you the cover of my book. And when I show you the cover of the book, I want you to think to yourself, what is the name of the book? And what's something that you see in the picture on the cover? So I want you to be able to think in your mind, what's the name of the book? And what's something that you see in the picture on the cover, okay? Are you going to say it out loud or are you going to think it?
Think it.
Think it. Nice job. Ready? Very good. Put your thumb up if you can sound out the title of the book. It's a name. It's actually 2 words in a name.
Sammy.
All right, do it with me. Here we go. Ready? This word starts with what sound? Put that sound on your lips. Here we go. Sylvia Jean. Oh, this book is named. Say it with me. Say it with me. Sylvia Jean. Now, I would like you to put your thumb up if you see something in a picture. Very good. Quinn, tell me one thing you see in the picture.
A pig.
A pig. Tell me something about the pig, Maven.
A miniature. It's wearing some clothes.
Ah, very good. If you see a word down here, can you tell me what that says?
Scout Supreme.
Scout Supreme. Very good. Yeah, I need one more comment about what you see in the picture. Sammy, can you tell me one more
I
thing?
think she's a Girl Scout.
Why do you think that she's a Girl Scout?
Because she's a girl.
Sammy.
She's a girl and she has Girl Scout clothes.
Looks like Girl Scout clothes. You know what, this thing right here where it says Scout Supreme, that's called a sash, right?
Yeah.
And if you're in Girl Scouts, what do you put on your sash? Does anybody know?
Patches.
Patches, or sometimes they're called badges. Can everyone say that with me?
Badges.
Very good. Now I want you to be thinking of what it means to be Scout Supreme. Why did the author put Sylvia Jean, Scout Supreme? Anybody got a good idea what that means? Why do you think the author put Sylvia Jean, Scout Supreme? Why?
Because it rhymes.
Ooh, it does kind of rhyme. It has some similar sounds. Not an exact rhyme. Similar sounds. But what else? What does it mean, supreme? If something is supreme, what does that mean?
Awesome.
Awesome. Give me another word for supreme besides awesome. Can you think of another word that means the same thing? Yes.
Cool.
Very cool.
Amazing.
Amazing. So Sylvia Jean, Scout Supreme, we're going to find out in this book why Sylvia tried so hard to be a really good scout. Okay? So be thinking about that as we read the book. Here she is. Everybody got a clear look at Sylvia? Sylvia Jean was a pig scout extraordinaire. By day, she memorized every rule and regulation, secret sign, and handshake. By night, she dreamed Super Scout dreams, still wearing her most prized possession, the Golden Pig Scout pin. It looks like this. Sylvia Jean's favorite day was Friday, when her pig scout troop met at 4 o'clock sharp. Sylvia Jean, reporting for duty, she announced. She's doing this, right? Yeah. She's ready to go. Attention, scouts, called the leader, Miss Rose. Today we begin work on the most important badge, the Good Deed Badge. We will begin by having each of you choose a good deed. The troop gasped, and Sylvia Jean loudest of all. I'll plant flowers, said Greta. Too dirty, thought Sylvia Jean. I'll pick up trash, yelled June. Too smelly, thought Sylvia Jean. Stella would read to toddlers. Too wiggly. Grace would paint a neighbor's fence. Hey, that neighbor idea is pretty good, thought Sylvia Jean. Sylvia Jean jumped to her feet, shouting, I've got it! My neighbor, old Mrs. Van Hooven. She twisted her ankle and can't walk. I'll take care of her. Prepare to be amazed, sang Sylvia Jean. So what does it mean, you think, if she's working for a good deed badge? What does good deed mean?
Something that's good to do if someone needs help.
Right, you're going to do it for someone else. You got another idea?
Being nice.
Being nice to
Someone.
to others. Very good. A good deed is doing something nice for others. Sylvia Jean gathered items from every possible need, from Band-Aids to balloons, tissues to tulips, pillows to puppets. I can't wait to see the look on Mrs. Van Hooven's face, Sylvia Jean crowed when she left her house the next morning. She is so lucky. Instead of using the doorbell, Sylvia Jean blew her tuba, just in case Mrs. Van Hooven was hard of hearing. Silence. Then a timid, who is it? It's me, Sylvia Jean, the answer to your prayers. Silence.
Sleep and rest.
Then, come in. Sylvia Jean burst through the door. Hello, she guessed. I've come to nurse you back to health. Mrs. Van Hooven's eyes grew big as Sylvia Jean told her about the good deed badge. Thank you, dear, she stammered. But please, all I need is rest. No, I insist, Sylvia Jean said, speeding toward her patient. Let me fluff those pillows. Suddenly, the tuba and the supplies tipped. Before Sylvia Jean could balance them, straight toward Mrs. Van Hooven. Her feet shot out from under her as she slipped. Oh, does that look good?
No. Oh, I can't look.
They both screamed. Then crash! Please, dear, whimpered Mrs. Van Hooven. Please just go. Walking home, Sylvia sniffed. Well, at least I took her mind off her ankle. Tomorrow's got to be better. But by the time she reached her house, her mother had already received a call. I'm afraid. Calm down, Sylvia Jean told herself. She touched her pig scout snout pin and read it. A pig scout never gives up. Okay, then think, she said. I can't visit her, but anyone else can. Even a total stranger. Sylvia Jean began to laugh as she headed for her dress-up closet. If total strangers can visit her, then strangers it will be, she announced. I want you to right now whisper to someone next to you, what do you think Sylvia Jean is going to do next? What do you think she's going to do next? What do you think she's going to do next? Really? Do you think so? Okay, someone tell me what your neighbor said to you.
No one.
Someone tell me what your neighbor...
Anything, and no one told me.
Okay, then I want you to be a really good listener, and then maybe I'll ask you again. What did your neighbor tell you?
That she's gonna dress up like a stranger.
How did your neighbor know that? Who is your neighbor? How did you know that?
Because.
What was the clue?
Because she was going into her closet to find out some clothes that she has that girl never seen before.
Okay, so you saw a picture.
I knew that
Gwen
too.
saw a picture, and what's your name?
Louise.
Remembered that she was going into the closet to find some things that she could dress up in. So let's see what's going to happen. The next day, a very dashing-looking gentleman left Sylvia Jean's house, walked straight to Mrs. Van Hooven's door, and knocked crisply. "Who is it?" called Mrs. Van Hooven. "Your new neighbor from Spain. Senor Villa, I have brought you a dish of my favorite Spanish rice and beans." "Do come in," said Mrs. Van Hooven. "Ooh, it smells lovely." Senor Villa put the dish on the table. "I will leave you now to rest," he said with a deep bow. "Enjoy." Who did she dress up like this time?
Sort of like a magician.
Well, it looks kind of like a magician.
A Spain person.
A person from Spain. And you know what we call that? Right, we call that person Spanish. Can we say that with me? Spanish, a person from Spain. You know what? The author described that person as looking dashing. What does dashing mean?
Dashing means cool.
Oh, you might look cool. Would you look kind of fancy if you were dashing?
Really good.
Really, really kind of good, and really fancy if you were dashing. Really quickly left. With each passing day, Mrs. Van Hooven's ankle grew a little stronger and grew a little more puzzled, and until the day she saw something shiny on the floor. Examining it, the old pig chuckled. What do you think she saw on the floor? Whisper to your neighbor. What do you think she saw?
Golden hair.
How many people thought that she saw the golden scalp pin? Nice job. Put your hands down. By Thursday, Sylvia Jean was about to burst. "I did it," she sang. "I did my good deed, and Mrs. Van Hooven never knew it was me." She sashayed around the room. "I deserve 2 badges for this." Sylvia Jean pulled out the badge form. "Now to fill this in," she announced, her fanciest pen poised to write. "Explain your project," the form read. And then it hit her. "I can't," she said. "I can't tell anyone. The doctor told me to stay away, and I disobeyed. If I confess that, they'll never give me the badge. They might even kick me out of the troop." A small cry escaped her lips. Sylvia Jean could share nothing at the meeting tomorrow and would watch disgraced as the other scouts received their badges. She fell in deep despair that followed her like a black cloud to the next day's Pig Scout meeting. Look at this picture. How do you think Sylvia Jean felt? How do you think she felt, Maeva?
Sad.
Okay, she was kind of sad. And there was a word up here that said, "If I confess that I did this." What does it mean to confess?
Explain.
Kind of explain that you did something what?
Bad.
Bad. That you have to explain when you confess that you did something bad. All right. That afternoon, the scouts were a Twitter. Everyone was anxious to share their glorious deeds. Each took a turn until only Sylvia Jean remained. "Sylvia Jean," Miss Rose said, "you may go next." She stood staring at the floor silently. Her eyes burned with tears. I can't. I didn't." "Want to brag?" came a voice. Everyone turned to see Mrs. Van Hooven hobbling forward on crutches. "Sylvia Jean is far too kind to brag," Mrs. Van Hooven continued, "but she arranged to have the most fascinating characters visit me while I was laid up. She's an angel. She's an absolute angel. You need to have a seat on your butt. Thank you very much. The troop clapped as the older pig hugged her young neighbor. Sylvia Jean turned 3 shades of pink and then whispered, "How did you know?" Mrs. Van Hooven handed her something shiny. Sylvia Jean's what? Golden Pig Scout pin. The next day, Mrs. Van Hooven invited Sylvia Jean over and sewed on her beloved new badge. "What will you work on next?" Mrs. Van Hooven asked. "The first aid badge," answered Sylvia Jean. She touched her Pig Scout pin thoughtfully. "If only I had someone to practice on." And she turned to Mrs. Van Hooven and smiled. I want you to think now, what happened at the end of the story? When Sylvia went to the scout meeting, she thought that she wasn't going to be able to tell, right? Because she did something bad and she wasn't going to be able to earn the badge. I want you to think, what happened that was different at the end of the story? Can someone tell me what happened?
She got her badge.
How'd she get her badge?
Cause
Did Sylvia tell the kids what she did?
no.
No. What happened?
Her name was.
Oh, who came to the scout meeting? I'm sorry, Quinn, I need for you to be looking this way. Who came to the scout meeting? Showed up unexpectedly. Who showed up?
Her neighbor.
Her neighbor, Mrs. Van Hooven. And what did Mrs. Van Hooven tell the scout leader?
Nothing. She was helping her.
That she helped her. Hey, Sammy, how did Mrs. Van Hooven tell the scout leader that Sylvia Jean helped her? What did she say? That she sent what? She came dressed up as what? What did Sylvia Jean do for Mrs. Van Hooven that really
Dressed
helped
up as
her?
the neighbor.
She dressed up as all different kinds of different neighbors, right? Did that make her feel better? Did that let her foot heal up a little better?
Yeah.
Very good, very good. All right, so what did you think of Sylvia Jean? Was she a good person?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Was she fun?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Was she glad that she earned her badge?
Yeah.
I think so too. Very good. Sammy, question?
Hello again. As I reflect on the lesson that you just saw of Sylvia Jean, Scout Supreme by Lisa Campbell Ernst with the first graders, I thought that the kids were relatively engaged. I felt like they had many opportunities to talk with each other, to answer questions, to do some choral responses, and I felt like that was a positive about the lesson. As in any lesson, there were things that I would go back and I would redo, and I actually had the opportunity to go into another first grade class several days later and reread the same story to their class, and I did it a little differently. This time, instead of having so much emphasis during the story, when I came upon the rare words, I noticed them with the students, but then I waited to the end of the story and went back and found those words in context, reread that area, and had them then maybe do word drama where they put that look on their face or where they use it in another example. So I kind of did, instead of embedding the vocabulary, understanding and exploration within the story, I waited to the end and did it after. My next steps would be, because there are multiple times and multiple purposes for being able to read the same book again, with both classes I would think I would go back and set the second purpose for story elements. I didn't have much opportunity because both of those lessons were probably about 20 minutes long and probably were tapping out on students' attention time. But I would go back and reread and review those story elements with characters and setting, and what were the characters' goals and what were the attempts to meet the goal, and then to be able to talk about if that goal had been met. So I could go back numerous ways and to readdress different kinds of purposes with different types of comprehension elements that I would like to go back and talk about. But I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you.